So, Chris, it is the After Hours episode for episode 12, our Barriers to Entry episode.
Yeah, that's right.
We've now had a chance to listen back to it, and I'm sure we've both got thoughts.
always thoughts. Well, it was an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, I want to come on to a little bit more about the big chat, the barriers to entry itself, because I think that is a worthy subject to get into.
Sure.
But actually, the first thing that I wanted to kind of address from the episode was listening to it. I mean, we opened the episode with it's M&S's Divin. We're still never sure.
Divin.
Because
it's French. It's French.
I hear you. Okay. It's a Pinot Noir. That's what we opened with. And look, we both liked it.
Yeah.
And what struck me, actually, is when I give my thumbs up, I'm like, look, it's a resounding thumbs up, because on the taste, it absolutely is, particularly compared to other NoLo red wines that we've had, which have not really lived up to expectations. But I'm also amazed with myself that I'm just like, hey, so what, it's £12 a bottle? That doesn't matter. And just kind of give it no thought at all.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about that in the kind of, the time since we recorded. And people always ask me, I see friends and things, and I'm always getting asked, like, oh, have you found a good one? Or what have you been reviewing lately or tasting lately? And I was telling people, we found this red wine, Pinot Noir. It's really good. And and you could see people getting really excited about that. And they go, yeah, it is £12, but, don't let that get in the way. And it does get in the way.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Quite a few responses when I said that were just kind of wide-eyed, incredulous, like, what? £12?
For a bottle of wine?
And you know what? Yeah, exactly. And you know what followed was not saying for a bottle of wine, for saying for not even a proper bottle of wine.
Yeah.
That's the interesting kind of takeaway from it. So there's still this perception gap, I think, between what a NoLo wine is and the sort of job it's doing. And when the price is a little bit higher, more like a kind of normal bottle of wine and a fairly decent bottle of wine, I think you'd get for £12, then it really becomes evident, and that becomes quite a big block for people. Interesting, don't you think?
Yeah, well, if you look at that £12 NoLo bottle of wine, obviously they're not paying the duty on that. And the duty would be about £3. Okay. So the equivalent standard wine would be about £15. And actually, if you look at it if you're comparing this £12 NoLo bottle with, I would guess that most people that you spoke to wouldn't routinely pay £12 for a bottle of wine. Maybe the average is more like £8. I don't know. I mean, I remember back in the day, it was like a £5 maximum, basically.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I think, they weren't necessarily people that always spend loads on wine. They might go for a slightly cheaper one, but not always bottom end either. So I think, a bit of a range in that, but, it's a fair point.
Yeah, so I think it compares reasonably well to a £15 standard bottle of wine, in the sense of, like, normally if I'm having something like £15 or £18, it's actually really nice. I'm really going to enjoy it, and a lot more than I would something that's more like £6 or £7 on average. And so if you look at it, the Divin at 12 compared to the other ones we would be looking at, which are more like £5, I think £4 or £5. I agree that actually. And this is a barrier to entry, is this cost, isn't it, at the end of the day? Because it is £12 on something that you're really not sure about. At least if you were used to buying red wine, or you had particular great varieties or regions or countries that you liked wine, you enjoyed wine from, that's kind of one thing. You're not risking anything. The chances that they won't enjoy it are not high. And
this is it. That's the journey I've been on since we recorded that. I was kind of like, we've been talking about the barriers to entry. I almost disregarded that because I got kind of swept up in that it is a very tasty drink. It really works. But then I come a bit full circle again, partly because of the response I've had from people. And I find myself doing this sort of doom loop of going, well, yes, but if it's nice and I like it, then it's worth it. But it is a lot of money. And I see where people are coming from. Yeah, but if it's nice and I like it, it's worth it. You see what I mean? And I kind of go round and round in circles. And it's just another dimension to that whole barriers to entry question, really, isn't it?
It is. I think I'm still absolutely convinced that my thumbs up is the right score, the right for me. I think that's because if I was going to buy a nice bottle of red wine, NoLo red wine, it would probably be that bottle for 12 quid. And so I mean, I was talking to a friend as well, and I'd opened it up, and this is a friend who doesn't really get NoLo Drinks, doesn't really see the point in NoLo beer or that kind of stuff. And I gave him a glass of it, and I just basically said, "Look, what do you think?" And actually, he put some kind of energy into tasting or whatever. He actually quite liked it. I didn't tell him how much it costs.
But this is the thing. So if ever there was a wine that might convert a naysayer or a kind of sitting on the fencer,
yes,
it would be that one, I think. But
that we've tried, yeah, absolutely.
But that cost, I think, is also part of the conversation. It just has to be, because it's markedly more than some of the others that we've seen. But then again, the taste is markedly better. Again, I'm back in that loop. Yeah. I'm in that loop.
Absolutely. I think, as I say, essentially, it demonstrates a couple of things that are barriers to entry. One is price, because it is objectively quite a lot, and it's probably more than most people will buy their average bottle of wine. And connected to that, as I say, is that kind of risk that you won't like it. And particularly because NoLo wines deservedly have quite a poor reputation, because they don't do a great job of replicating it. So, I think there's a lot going on there. And I think it indicates quite well, the point of that episode, the barriers to entry.
Absolutely. Well, actually, speaking of barriers to entry, but of another sort, I'm talking now about barriers to entry of actually enjoying the episode that we've put out.
Okay, yes.
Because I made a terrible pun in that episode.
You're not narrowing it down, mate. Which one are we talking about?
True. Look, and I said in the episode, it's probably the worst pun I've ever come up with, worst thing I've ever written. But, just to refresh you, it was the how do we turn oh no lo don't into oh no lo do it. And I can honestly say, listening back to it, I can only apologise.
And rightfully so.
Look, man, it was a bit of fun. At least I held my hands up to it. That's
yes, well done. You can extract some measure of kind of redemption from that point, I suppose.
I'm humble after the fact.
Indeed.
But while my hands are up, I'm going to bend that over and I'm going to point at you and say, I think you also need to apologise, Pete, for PIINTTS.
PIINTTS. That took me ages, absolutely ages, to crowbar all these different parts into something which vaguely makes sense.
Really, really had me in stitches listening back to it. It was very funny. But actually, good work. I mean, the system does work. What you came up with as an acronym, it does fit. It does make sense. There's a logic to it.
Sort of.
And it was a very cohesive argument that you made. But that specific moment as well, I said it in the episode, it's your best moment on Minus the Hangover. I stand by it, Pete.
Wow.
I stand by it.
I was quite proud of the wine episode we did, but no, I'm happy for this to be my second or even the best. I don't know. But no, I think, I really like mnemonics anyway, in any kind of way. And obviously, if I can crowbar a terrible, terrible pun into it as well, then, I don't have kids, but, sort of spiritually, I'm a middle-aged dad like that.
Anything that can fit on a T-shirt, we're all in favour of. Which is only a matter of time. The T-shirts are on their way.
Yeah. I think the PIINTTS, that was price, image, inertia, navigation. How do people find things? The only thing I think of was navigation. Taste, terminology, and supply. Those were the PIINTTS system. And I think they cover most of the bases. I mean, it's difficult because I used to be in the industry. I used to run a small brewery. That was a decade ago. It was a while, although the fundamentals of the market haven't changed in that time. But, I'm always kind of thinking when we're looking at researching stuff for the show, or just thinking about NoLo Drinks in general, I'm always looking at it from that industry perspective. This PIINTTS acronym, I think it's kind of a relevant set of things that industry needs to think about, and I think aren't necessarily doing well in some parts as well. I think, because obviously we were discussing each individual element. And I think we came to the conclusion that, sort of the terminology side of it, what's alcohol-free, what's low alcohol, all that kind of stuff. They weren't doing very well on it. And also kind of the image of the drinks as well. So, when they're advertising it to us as being an equivalent, and quite often it isn't, particularly the wines, as we've just talked about. They don't taste the same. Like Guinness does taste very similar, or Heineken, or all that kind of stuff. But
we've talked about that a lot, haven't we? How clearly some brands are standing up their NoLo version as a direct version of the kind of better known standard version, if you like. And they really are standing them up side by side. So therefore, there's an expectation that has been pushed by the company in their branding, in their marketing. So it's only right, or it's only fair that we, if that's what they've done, that we can have that expectation. We're not wrong to form that opinion.
Of course.
Clearly that's what they're aiming for.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be a balance there from their perspective. Obviously, it's easier to market a drink if it's, Peroni or Peroni Zero or whatever it is. It's easier to market it because you've already got that brand recognition and maybe trust or whatever. But that's so dangerous if you haven't done the work to make it taste as close as possible, or it might not even be possible to make it taste close enough, to make a success. So I don't know. I don't even claim to have any of the answers. All I was really doing with that pint system is just basically pointing out what they've got to think about, and then us discussing and us giving our opinion on how well the industry is doing.
Yeah, and actually, as we've talked about before, so your background was in brewing directly, but I worked pubs and clubs and bars for years, and I agree. Just from that perspective, kind of customer facing. These are the aspects that need addressing, and I think terminology is a massive part of it. I think there is that expectation question, inertia, all the aspects that you kind of brought up there. Navigation. I know you say you weren't sure what to call that question within it, but actually I think it's right.
Yeah, and so another thing we want to do as well, just reflect back on a few of the other sort of tastings or reviews that we did. We've obviously talked about the Divin already. Yep. The other drink we did a tasting of course, was Gordon's. And I, again, have not changed my mind. To me, it's largely pointless. The Gordon's 0% spirit drink. If you have nice tonic water, like a lot of the Fever Tree ones are, for example, I just don't think it adds very much. And I don't think it adds, whatever it was. Is it 15 or 16 pounds a bottle or something? Yeah,
between 15 and up to 16, I suppose.
Yeah. So if you're thinking that it's maybe 50p or 60p every drink, and adding literally nothing, so I'd rather spend that 60p on some more Fever Tree.
I hear you. I mean, one thing I didn't go into in the episode itself was that actually I had it before,
right? And
I'd had it specifically over. Kind of during lockdown, when my partner wasn't drinking, but obviously it was lockdown and I was. So, and I love a G&T, but she really wanted to scratch that itch, and she loves a G&T too. So she was getting it in that period, and she was quite the convert to it. She liked it because it helped her scratch that itch.
Yes.
And I think for me, I did get just enough coming through that I will stick to my thumbs up.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
But I will say I have had no compulsion since to kind of return to it. It wasn't, I haven't discovered a new thing.
Yeah.
Or, and since we recorded that episode, I just haven't thought about it again. So it scratched the itch in the moment, kind of, but not enough that I kind of carried that with me.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think, overall, as I say, spirits are always going to be hard to pull off.
Yeah,
we saw that with the Captain Morgan's to an extent, the spiced rum.
Right.
But by itself, it was horrible. It was kind of it
didn't work.
Quite unpleasant. And actually, as a rum and Coke, it worked well. But it's because rum doesn't taste like Coke, to my mind, whereas gin does taste like tonic.
Yes, they are very similar.
Yeah, and so that again, that's kind of that marginal utility, I think, is possibly what they called it, of adding the NoLo gin to the tonic. It just wasn't enough for me. And I mean, obviously, like you and I, we've not really tried that many NoLo spirits as well. No. And a big part of that, obviously, is, as you know, we're funding our own podcast. And again, barriers to entry. We don't want to be spending 20 or 30 quid on a spirit just to review it.
Yeah, it's the barriers to entry. But we talked about this in the wine episode, that there's perhaps even a skill or a certain technique in how you taste it. Maybe we need to get more used to NoLo spirits as well.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe there's something in that. I don't know. I'm not going to revisit it, though, even though I gave it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And our criteria has always been, would I drink it again? Yeah. Would I buy it again? Well, I get that it can scratch that itch, but I just haven't thought about it in, however long it's been since we recorded the episode, like a week or two. So, it's a funny one. But one I would get again was the Perlenbacher Pils.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to stand by that. I think that's good, particularly for the value. That is it's a nice drink, and it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yes, I certainly haven't had that since we spoke about it. I don't think I've had it before. It's kind of hard to keep track, to be honest, because there's so many lagers out there. I mean, that one is from Aldi or Lidl, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
One of them, I can't remember now.
Yeah, and because we don't generally go to Aldi or
Lidl. I can see in the link there.
Yeah, because my partner and I, we don't go to Lidl and Aldi very often. And, we're very close to another supermarket, not naming any names, but, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you'll know who it is. But yeah, basically, they all kind of blend into one, I find.
Yeah.
Certainly in terms of flavour, in terms of... And it's another German Pilsner with kind of like a blue, white and maybe red label. Or,
but isn't it sort of, that's its job, is to sort of not stand out from the pack too much. You know what you're going to get, and you want it to deliver that. I think it did deliver that, but I completely get that, you're struggling to pick it out of a lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Its job is to be like other ones and be fairly, one size fits all, because that's what kind of German Pilsner is about, in a way. Yeah,
and particularly what Lidl and Aldi are about, isn't it? Is to provide a kind of like a very similar experience with a cheaper brand. And yeah, like you say, they've done a good job there. So, hats off to them and all that. And of course, I tried the M&S low alcohol Czech lager.
Very biscuity.
Yes. I mean, I'm a big fan of their standard Czech lager as well. It's very good, although this is a different brewery. But have you tried the low alcohol one?
I haven't tried this yet.
Okay.
Now, I'm a little bit mixed on Czech lagers, only because I've spent time in Prague and time in Poland as well, and kind of that area, Austria. I've had quite a lot that are like that, and they're quite sweet.
Right.
And in a way, I've turned away from that end of the palate.
Yeah, sure.
So I get that it stands up, it does a really good job of recreating that, and that's something you like about it. Well, you like the biscuitiness, but it's the sweetness for me starts turning me off a little bit as a style.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Horses for courses at the end of the day, isn't it? It's why... it's the reason why we don't assign precise scores to all our reviews, and we just basically say, will we buy it again or not? Because it's pointless. Because people's tastes change so much. You can't just give it a 3.7 out of 5 and expect that to have any utility in the real world.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I'm definitely up for trying it because, like you say, the biscuitiness is what made it stand out.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely. Like I would give that a go. I just haven't got round to it yet. But I'm also, like I say, slightly cautious about the style. Because it is the sweeter end, and I don't know. I just kind of turned away from it. I can't really explain it.
Fair enough.
The last one we did, the Infinite Session IPA, which I really liked because I thought it tasted quite like a honey lager, which you'd never heard of.
No, that's right. That's not a style that I'm familiar with at all. I've tried it since we recorded, and I think you're right. It does taste a bit like honey. I mean, my impression of the taste of honey is somewhat murky because I haven't eaten it in about 17 years. But since my partner and I went vegan. But yes, I can kind of remember what it tastes like, and it does taste quite honeyed. I did check it is vegan. It doesn't literally have honey in it.
No, it is.
Yeah. But no, it's a nice IPA, actually, I have to say. It's reasonably hoppy, and there's reasonable amount of body to it. Yeah, it's good. And obviously you can get it in most supermarkets, which is always handy.
I've had a little bit more time to think about if I think it's a really good IPA in its own right. I do think it's a good one, but I think the honey or the honeyed quality to it definitely marks it apart. And for that, absolutely, I'm sticking with the thumbs up. So what about you? Now you've tasted it.
I'd definitely give it a thumbs up. I've not really done a full kind of tasting. I've literally had a can and sort of thought about it a little bit. Whereas definitely, I'm sure you found this as well, when we're doing our tastings for the episodes, for the recordings, I'm thinking a lot harder about the different flavours that I'm tasting, the kind of the context in terms of the competition and how it compares to that. And so I have to
also where you can see yourself having this as a drink, what that context is.
No, absolutely. And so, when I had the Infinite Session IPA, I just thought, tastes nice. Chris is right. Tastes like honey. That was quite pleasant. So that's literally the level of my of my thoughts on that, my criticism. So I would also give it a thumbs up. Yeah, definitely.
Your pop quiz answer is yes. But if you had to write a full essay or a PhD on it, maybe be a little more qualified.
Indeed.
Okay, but that's good. At least we're on the same page from where we, I introduced it to you, and your gut reaction is to give it a thumbs up. That's good.
Yeah, no, that's it. Absolutely. Right. I don't think I've got anything else to say about episode 12. How about you?
Only to say, I really think that was a worthy subject to get into, that barriers to entry.
Good.
I do think it's such a big question, and in many ways, we'll definitely be touching on it again. This is going to be a theme, as it has been already in episodes, that's going to keep cropping up.
Yeah.
But there might even be more for us to explore in depth down the line as well, because it's just a big thing. It's a big aspect of the consumer and the industry and where it's all heading and how it's evolving. And interesting, man. And I think you did a very good job. And PIINTTS is brilliant.
Excellent. Well, nice one. All right. So let's leave it there then. Cheers. And we'll see you next time. Yeah.
See you on the next episode.
Cheers.